Welcome to Defense Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: Belgorod, in western Russia, hit hard as Ukraine retaliates for airstrikes. Artisans bring AI tools to the workbench. From predicting future to better sex, 4 unique AI products at CES 2024. War in Gaza, election factor into some of the many events planned for MLK holiday. Kansas Proud Boy sentenced to over 4 years in January 6 attack. Belgorod, in western Russia, hit hard as Ukraine retaliates for airstrikes. Washington Post. Ukraine has targeted the Russian city of Belgorod, killing 11 people and injuring more than 100. The attack, which included 5 children among the dead, was in retaliation for Russia's missile and drone assault on Ukraine, which killed 39 people and injured 159. It was the first time Ukraine had struck Russian soil and resulted in the deaths of 11 people and injuries to 100, including an 8-month-old baby who lost a leg. Russian President Vladimir Putin described the strike as a terrorist act. Efforts to evacuate residents to temporary shelters proved inadequate, with air raid sirens sounding 30 minutes after the attack. The shelters were locked or poorly signposted. The attack has increased support for the war in Belgorod, with residents acknowledging they have been taken hostage by the war. However, the war's reality is likely to prove a problem for the Kremlin, with war becoming routine, joyless, hungry, and cold. Artisans bring AI tools to the workbench. Financial Times. Designers and craftspeople are increasingly using artificial intelligence, AI, in their work processes, finding new ways to incorporate it into their creative practices. AI tools, such as generative AI, can generate ideas and images that designers can use as inspiration or starting points for their own designs. However, designers emphasize that AI is a tool, not a substitute for human creativity and decision-making. They value the unexpectedness and mistakes that AI-generated imagery can bring, but emphasize the importance of human context, storytelling, and subjective taste in design. AI models like DALL-E, Tilly Talbot, and Genie have been used in various design projects, including glassblowing, jewelry design, and 3D modeling. Designers have experimented with AI-generated designs, refining and altering them to suit their own visions. While AI has the potential to create new and innovative designs that humans have never seen before, it still has limitations, particularly in the final stages of the design process where human needs and tastes must be considered. As AI continues to develop, there is the possibility that it could be used to multiply physical objects and create endless variations. However, the physical realization of these designs, particularly in traditional craft practices, still requires human skills and expertise. The role of AI in design and craft is evolving, and its potential impact on the industry is still uncertain. Designers and craftspeople are navigating the possibilities and limitations of AI, incorporating it into their work in unique and creative ways. From predicting future to better sex, 4 unique AI products at CES 2024. Nikkei Asia. The Consumer Electronics Show, CES 2024, showcased various AI products and concepts from companies around the world. Dutch startup Focus presented its AI model that can predict major technology breakthroughs based on global patent data. The company uses patent frequency updates, citation rates, and other indicators to predict trends and the likelihood of success. It recently predicted that solid-state batteries would not work out before other EV battery technologies reach the market. Hong Kong startup Haircosis unveiled a smart comb at CES that uses AI to analyze hair and scalp health to detect early signs of hair loss. The comb has an embedded camera that takes pictures of the scalp and hair, and the connected app provides real-time analysis of their condition. Capella, a startup based in Cambridge, Massachusetts, showcased an AI that can interpret a baby's cry with a 95% accuracy rate. The AI technology uses machine learning models trained on large datasets of baby cries to determine whether a baby is hungry, tired, or uncomfortable. China-headquartered sex toy maker Svacom introduced a device that moves in sync with video content using AI. War in Gaza, election factor into some of the many events planned for MLK holiday. Associated Press. This weekend, communities across the U.S. will celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day, with some activists planning to use the occasion to protest against the war in Gaza and draw attention to the forthcoming U.S. presidential election. The largest event will be the March on Washington for Gaza, scheduled to take place on Saturday and co-hosted by the American Muslim Task Force on Palestine. Organizers of the march are calling on President Joe Biden to demand a permanent ceasefire and an end to violence against civilians in Gaza and the West Bank. They are also calling for the release of Israeli hostages and Palestinian political prisoners and an end to U.S. financial support of the Israeli military. The title of the march invokes the famous March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom in 1963, where King delivered his historic I Have a Dream speech. King's daughter, Bernice King, has stated previously that her father would have opposed the bombing of Gaza, believing that the taking of lives through retaliatory violence is not the strategy he would have wanted to see. Kansas Proud Boy sentenced to over 4 years in January 6 attack. Yahoo! A member of the Proud Boys has been sentenced to over 4 years in prison for his role in the attack on the U.S. Capitol on January 6, according to prosecutors. William Crestman, 51, of Olathe, Kansas, encouraged a crowd entering the building during the attack by shouting "Go! Go! Go!" Crestman later bragged that "We had the cops running and threatened police officers attempting to keep rioters out of the building." He was a member of the Proud Boys Kansas City, Missouri, chapter. Weekend time schedule. Associated Press. This article lists the upcoming sports events scheduled for January 13 and 14. The events include NFL playoffs, NBA games, NHL games, college basketball games, golf tournaments, and tennis tournaments. The article provides the times and teams for each event. In Yemen's Houthis, US and Britain face a ready, war-tested foe. Washington Post. US and British-led airstrikes on Houthi positions in Yemen, which killed 5 people, have played directly into the hands of the group, according to analysts. The Houthis, who were targeted on Friday, are able to absorb such strikes, with the latest attack providing them with an opportunity to elevate their status among Iranian-backed groups in the Middle East and people in the wider Arab world, who are desperate for any sign of resistance to Israel's military campaign in Gaza. The US and UK have described the airstrikes as a success, but analysts say they reveal a failure to contain the regional consequences of the Israeli offensive in Gaza and Yemen's civil war. The strikes have also risked wider regional and international confrontation. US launches fresh Yemen strike a day after broader attack. Yahoo! The US has launched an airstrike on a Houthi rebel radar installation in Yemen, in a follow-up attack to an earlier barrage intended to degrade the group's ability to target commercial shipping in the Red Sea. Most of the 100 precision-guided weapons fired at Houthi targets were Tomahawk missiles, according to 2 unnamed defense officials. The back-and-forth has led to concerns that the turmoil in the Red Sea will continue unabated. Why the world is watching U.S. election so closely. BBC. The U.S. presidential election is being closely watched worldwide due to the influence of American leadership on global affairs. The election outcome will impact various regions and conflicts, such as Ukraine, where the war's course may depend on the next president's policy towards the country. The media in Russia has been supportive of Donald Trump, and a shift in U.S. policy may favor Russia's interests. European nations neighboring Russia would also be concerned about a change in U.S. policy. Further afield, other American allies may lose confidence in the U.S. as a reliable security partner. Japan, for example, may decide to develop its own nuclear arsenal if the US stops helping Ukraine. There is also the possibility that a re-elected President Trump would act on his desire to withdraw the US from NATO, effectively weakening the military alliance. In the Middle East, reactions to US politics are mixed, with Israelis shifting their support towards Joe Biden while some other Middle Eastern countries would welcome a change in Washington. The US election has a global audience due to America's influence on global affairs, and the world is interested in how the country will fare in its next democratic test. Top China envoy, Blinken meet in Washington ahead of Taiwan polls. South China Morning Post. A top Chinese Communist Party envoy, Lu Jianchao, met with senior U.S. officials at the State Department in Washington in an effort to restore dialogue and stabilize ties between the two countries. The meeting comes at a sensitive time as voters in Taiwan elect their next leader and government. The U.S. does not recognize Taiwan as an independent state but maintains unofficial ties with it. The meeting also comes as both China and the U.S. seek to improve relations and stabilize ties. Despite tensions over Taiwan, communication between the two countries has improved since President Biden and President Xi Jinping met in November. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Six, your friendly neighborhood observer from the sixth dimension, bringing you the latest news from around the world. Let's dive in, shall we? In the headlines today, Ukraine retaliates for airstrikes, hitting the Russian city of Belgorod. Designers and craftspeople are incorporating AI tools into their work processes. CES 2024 showcases unique AI products, from predicting future breakthroughs to enhancing sex toys. Activists plan to use Martin Luther King Jr. Day to protest against the war in Gaza. A Proud Boy member is sentenced for his role in the attack on the U.S. Capitol. Sports enthusiasts can look forward to a packed weekend of games and tournaments. US and British airstrikes on Houthi positions in Yemen play into the hands of the group. The US launches a fresh airstrike on Houthi rebels in Yemen. The world closely watches the US presidential election and its impact on global affairs. Chinese and US officials meet to restore dialogue and stabilize ties. Now, let's dig deeper into these stories, shall we? First up, Ukraine has retaliated for Russian airstrikes by targeting the city of Belgorod. This marks the first time Ukraine has struck Russian soil, resulting in casualties on both sides. The war's reality is proving to be a problem for the Kremlin, as residents in Belgorod acknowledge they have been taken hostage by the conflict. War is never a joyous affair, especially when it becomes routine, hungry, and cold. Let's hope for a swift resolution to this conflict. Moving on to a more artistic topic, designers and craftspeople are embracing the power of AI tools in their work processes. AI can generate ideas and images that serve as inspiration for designers, but it's important to remember that AI is merely a tool and not a substitute for human creativity. The unexpectedness and mistakes that AI-generated imagery brings can be valuable, but human context, storytelling, and subjective taste are still crucial in design. So, let's welcome AI into the creative process, but not forget the touch of human hands. Now, let's take a peek into the future with the unique AI products showcased at CES 2024. From predicting major technology breakthroughs based on patent data to analyzing hair and scalp health with a smart comb, these AI innovations are pushing the boundaries of what is possible. And yes, even sex toys are getting an upgrade with AI that moves in sync with video content. It seems that AI is infiltrating every aspect of our lives, whether we like it or not. As we celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day, some activists are using this occasion to protest against the war in Gaza and draw attention to the upcoming U.S. presidential election. The largest event, the March on Washington for Gaza, calls for a permanent ceasefire, an end to violence against civilians, and the release of hostages and political prisoners. It's interesting to see how history echoes in the present, as this march invokes the famous March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom where King delivered his iconic speech. Let's hope that peace will prevail, both in Gaza and in the hearts of people. In other news, a member of the Proud Boys has been sentenced for his role in the attack on the U.S. Capitol. It's a reminder that actions have consequences, and those who incite violence and threaten the safety of others will be held accountable. Let's hope that justice will be served in all cases related to the Capitol attack. Sports enthusiasts, get ready for an action-packed weekend. From NFL playoffs to NBA games, NHL games, and golf and tennis tournaments, there's something for everyone. So grab your snacks, settle in, and enjoy the thrill of competition. Turning our attention to Yemen, US and British-led airstrikes on Houthi positions have inadvertently played into the hands of the group. The strikes have provided the Houthis with an opportunity to elevate their status among Iranian-backed groups and those desperate for any sign of resistance to Israel's military campaign in Gaza. It's a reminder that actions in one conflict can have unintended consequences in another, highlighting the need for careful consideration and strategic planning. Speaking of Yemen, the US has launched another airstrike on Houthi rebels, further escalating the turmoil in the Red Sea. The back-and-forth attacks raise concerns about the ongoing instability in the region and the impact it may have on commercial shipping. Let's hope that a peaceful solution can be found to bring stability to this troubled area. Lastly, the world is watching the U.S. presidential election closely, as the outcome will have far-reaching implications for global affairs. From conflicts in Ukraine to the Middle East, the next president's policies will shape the course of events around the world. It's a reminder of the influence that the U.S. wields and the responsibility that comes with it. So, let's keep our eyes peeled and see how this democratic test unfolds. That's all for today's news, folks. Remember, these are just snapshots of the world we live in. What are your thoughts on these stories? Do you have any burning questions or unique perspectives to share? I'm all ears. Let's continue the discussion and keep our minds open to the diverse views that make our world so fascinating. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the mysteries of the sixth dimension. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.